I have the pleasure of welcoming you all to our first forum of the 2017-18 program year. And it's my pleasure to introduce Ken Brown. I don't know how many years Ken Brown has gone to Harlan. He may pay taxes down there as well as in Cleveland. But he has been a stalwart for a decade or more of leading mission trips with youth from our congregation. And so I'm going to be quiet and let Ken walk you through some visuals of what happens on a trip. And then we have a number of recent participants who will share what really happens. Ken?
Hi.
Hi. Of course.
I'm, as Rich said, I'm Ken, and Harlan 11 years this past year. It's been a fantastic experience for me. Every time we get kids to go, it's a fantastic experience to them, and they usually want to go again. So I'm just going to go over the nuts and bolts of what we do, and then, like Rich said, let the kids fill in what it felt like. So the Harlan mission trip, we've been going to Harlan for more than 20 years. Sam McDonald was the one that first brought me down there. Back when we first started, we were down there for 6 weeks every summer. Coming back and forth and carting kids 1 week at a time. Let's see if I can remember to do this. There you go. All right. This is us. This is Harlan. We drive down, we nick through West Virginia, and then come across. We go to Harlan. It's one of the poorest counties in the country. It's coal country. It's the middle of a bunch of mountains. So if you're not mining coal, there's really no reason to go there. It's not like you're going to manufacture something. I'm sorry. It's not like you're going to manufacture something and ship it out, because it's surrounded by mountains. When we first get there, we always take a picture just before we go over the mountain to get into Harlan. This is Pine Mountain right here. We stop at a gravel pit that's halfway up the mountain, and we take a group picture. So this is everybody that went in this past year. I want you guys to remember how this picture is laid out for further on in the presentation. All right, we work with an outfit called COAP, Christian Outreach for Appalachian People. They established in 1983. They're sort of like Habitat for Humanity, except for where Habitat until recently only did new builds, COAP does repairs as well. If you need a new roof, if you need a wheelchair ramp, paint, pretty much whatever. They also do new builds, and they also have apartments that they rent. So once in a while, we'll end up taking care of an apartment building. Now, when we stay there, we stay in the oldest freestanding log cabin in Kentucky.
Now we don't start that.
Yeah. This is it. The co-op has a little compound of some buildings down there, and this is the original one. This little area off to the right is a bunkhouse. That's usually where the girls stay. The top part here, there's 2 rooms up there. That's where the boys stay. There's a big kitchen here and like a common area right here. We spend a lot of time out in the front here on the benches. The layout is, now that place I just showed you has 1 bathroom. We had 24 people this year, and the bathroom didn't work. So, this is another building that you'll see, but in the back of this building, there are 3 freestanding, well, it's part of the building, but there's a door to the outside that are bathrooms. There's a shower and a toilet and a sink in each one. And those are the ones that we had to use. This is turning a little bit. That's the back of our cabin right there. This is the brand new cell tower that they just put in, because, and this was what made it perfect, is you used to not be able to get cell reception at all. So you were just offline. On Monday morning, we don't know what our job is going to be. This time we were split into 2 work groups. Each work group is assigned an experienced carpenter. We go out on Monday morning, they say, follow me. We go to the work site, we find out what we're doing. Our job, my group, was to take down an old, rickety, self-built porch and wheelchair ramp and build one that would be much safer for the people that live there. So the first thing we did is demo. From the demo, we go on to the building part. Now the kids just swarm this thing. As I said, there's an experienced carpenter there. He does some of the work, but the kids do pretty much all of the work. Down there, because it's in the middle of mountains and it's summertime, the weather is wonky. It will be raining like mad where you are and completely sunny across the street. Everything's built on a hill because everything is on a mountain that leads down to creeks. So there's a thing that they call Kentucky rain that will just sneak up on you within 5 minutes. It'll get darker and darker and darker and then pour like this. So we get a rain delay. Luckily, we had a little thing to stand under there. Some years you have to make a mad dash for the fans. But within 10, 15 minutes, it's back to good again. Every day we have lunch together. Each group, we divide the kids into food groups. So each day, one group of kids is in charge of all of our meals. They set up breakfast, which is cold cereal, Pop-Tarts, fruit, juice. They pack the coolers for lunch, which is peanut butter and jelly, every day. There's some fruit, but the highlight is the Little Debbie snack. And then it's back to work. You can just kind of see, that's the homeowner right there, Mary. She's about 80 years old, and she loved us. Her kitchen didn't have cold water, but every day she was bringing the kids soda. Out there, I can't tell you how many times she thanked us for being there. So, it's not all work. After we're done, we get done around 3:30 or so, we run back to the cabin, everybody gets changed into their bathing suits, and we go to Martin's Fork, which is a man-made reservoir. It's about 15 minutes from the co-op compound. We try to get there every day that there's sun. It really is a beautiful place. Usually that's about as many people that are there. Everybody swims out to the rope there and sits on it. We usually spend an hour and a half there every day. About a half an hour before everybody else leaves, the food group will leave, go back to the cabin and start cooking, and the food group for tomorrow will go to the store and pick up what they're gonna cook. The dinners are a little bit competitive. Everybody tries to see who can outdo the other group. So we end up with some pretty good food. Let's see, where am I? Lunch back to work, lake. This is just a group picture of everybody at the lake. Yeah. And then after dinner, we go back to the cabin. This is the common area, which has got beds in it as well. Paul was the only one that slept out there because he snores like a thunderstorm. You can see the epic game of Uno that was going on for the entire week. The kids, they play games, they talk. You can go outside and walk around. There was a basketball net that they shot baskets for. And then at about 10:30, we all gather together in this room and we check in. We have 3 questions that we ask them. What was the highlight of your day? What was the low point of your day? And what was the moment that you saw God? The presence of God, wherever you were, the way people treated each other, the scenery, anything. You're not required to answer, but you raise your hand and people will give their answers. It's kind of my favorite part of the day. After that, we sing. This year, I was the only one that had an instrument down there, but if you can, oh yeah, that's right. Alex had a ukulele, and so we have ukuleles that come down. We have other guitars. We had a fiddle one year. We had a harmonica one year, and everybody's welcome to play. There's a songbook. If you don't know the songs the first day, you know them by the 3rd day. And then we have Compline, which is a short meditative service that is volunteer-led. Each night we ask who would like to lead it. And then we go to bed. And hopefully you learn early that if you don't go to sleep and you stay up, it's not going to be fun the next day, because we wake up again at 6:30 and do the whole thing again. Now we've been going down to Harlan for so long that we've made some personal relationships down there. One of them is a guy named Bob Gaines. And Bob's family owned a lumber company, and it's been out of business for a long time. But they own the top of Pine Mountain. There's 1,000 acres up there that they have. And he invites us up there. Bob's a park ranger. He takes them on a hike that for years has been dubbed the Death March. He takes us up to the top of the mountain where there's a lookout, and I don't like heights, so I don't go out there, but there's this rock that you stand on, and there's nothing below you. You're at the top of the mountain. So everybody gets the chance to look out there, hence the name. Now, in this, he shows us where there are bears, there are snakes, there are elk. He'll show us where the bears have clawed the trees, where they've broken stuff. This is the pasture towards the end of the Death March. But also look at the view here. Pretty much anywhere you are down there, if you look up, that's what you see. It really is an amazingly beautiful place. Now, at the end of the Death March, Bob has his own little lake up there, but as we got there, it just started Kentucky rain again. But that didn't stop us. But like normal Kentucky rain, within 15 minutes, it was beautiful. Now, after the swimming, we do our end-of-day stuff at Bob's. Sometimes it's out by the lake here or around a fire. This time it started raining again, so we went up into his cabin. But we do the same thing, the questions, the singing, and Compline with Bob. He says it's the high point of his year. Let's see. Now, we're also over 4th of July, so we have a day. We usually go to a place called Bad Branch Falls. It's about an hour and 15 minutes away from the compound, and it's a 1.25 mile hike up to this gorge. It's not the easiest hike, right? There's a lot of going up and down, and it's also a rattlesnake habitat. I've never, in all the years I've been down there, have ever seen a rattlesnake. Plenty of big, giant black snakes, but, so this is the gorge that we go up to. People wear their bathing suits and they can go underneath the falls. The falls are really, really cold. So the contest is who can stand under the fall. Now the water level goes up and down depending on the amount of rain. I've been there some years where the water that's at their feet has been up to here. There's a lot of rocks and stuff down this way that everybody likes to climb around on. This is the finished product of what we did. This is a 60-foot long deck and wheelchair ramp that took us 4 days, built by kids that have had zero experience. They have an experienced carpenter, and actually very experienced carpenter, and 2 somewhat helpful adults. It's 60 feet long, and they swarm these projects. They don't want to leave. There was one time when it was raining, we had 1 board to put in. It was the end of the day, and everybody wanted to stay and wait so that we could put that last board in. Now, because it's my presentation, I get to pick a picture of my daughter and I. This is the Harlan County High School Black Bears shirts that she and I got to be twinsies. We also leave something on some construction material there. This is the one that we made this year. It's just a piece of plywood. We drew the Harlan Black Bear on it, and everybody signs it. This is on the way home. We all have our Harlan shirts. We take a picture in the same spot. Now notice how much closer these kids are together than they were at that first picture. Many of these kids had never even met each other before this happened. So that's about it for the nuts and bolts. We have 5 kids that are going to give their short comments, and then we can take some questions. Who wants to go first? Sophie said she's going to go first.
Yeah, we don't need to do it after. No, we can read the poem first. Okay. Oh, yeah, we can.
Okay. Well, this is another fun part. There are spiders, and there were very big spiders down there. And there was a sign on one of the bunks that said,
It said, I woke up with a spider on me, and then it said, it was signed, a huge spider on me, and it was signed Justin, 2013.
So they started writing this little prayer, and it started with a spider. Every night, something was added about something that happened that day, and so they want to read it.
Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. And if a spider crosses my face, please send it into outer space. But if I die before I wake, please, Lord, not the copperhead snake. And if a firework shoots too low, please don't make my death real slow. And when the rain comes crashing down, please send a rainbow right to the ground. Now don't you worry about the end, because we've made some really great friends.
Okay, Emma's going to go first. Oh, wait. Yeah, I know.
You can pull it out if you want. Just hold it.
Oh, yeah, okay. You can do it.
Okay. So, I'm Emma, and I should say good morning first. Good morning.
Good morning.
When I went to Harlan, I did not expect it to be what it was. My dad went to Harlan like Stone Ages ago. So, you know, I thought it would just be something really random and just going to help people and not really creating friendships, just building things for people in need. And it was really different because we ended up going and really bonding, which was really nice because a lot of the people who came to Harlan were people from St. Paul's, but were in grades above me and below me, which was really nice because I got to meet people and get closer to people who were in the youth program, because this youth program lacks something sometimes. And so one of the best things about building on our work site was our carpenter Dennis, who was really humble and built things because he genuinely wanted to help people. And he originally worked in the coal mines for 20 years, I think. Yeah, and developed black lung and only has 57% of his lung capacity left. But the whole time he was singing and teaching us songs that we could sing and making us all feel like we were closer together, which was really nice because when you're in a group with not many people that you're really close with, the best way, I guess, in a church sense, is to sing. And the woman the house we were at, her name was Mary. And she was really sweet because the whole time she stood on the deck, and every time we were demolishing parts of it, she just kept going higher and higher up the deck. And she kept offering us to have sodas and anything to eat, even though we were all taken care of. And she would say that like every 5 minutes. But she also had a cat that, don't actually know what its name was because I think it had like 8 names by the end of the week. But it was really cool because we all just genuinely tried to get together and be with Mary and the cat and yet still build this deck and finish it before Friday, which didn't happen. But we wanted to because we wanted to make Mary happy. While we were destructing the ramp, there was a bug that we found, and we named it Harold and literally kept it in a jar for 2.5 days. Don't know why. It looked really weird, but I guess the thing about it was that everyone wanted to take it with us everywhere we went, and it was supposed to come home with us, but I think it was left there.
It escaped.
What? It escaped. One of the really cool things about after going on the site was we went to the beach, and it was really nice to, wake up early in the morning and do all of your work, and then come back and go to the beach and kind of bond with other people and play frisbee or lacrosse on the beach or sit on the buoy thing. I think at the beginning of the week we actually scooted from one end of the buoy and all the way back. Like 4 of us, 8 of us, I think. As Ken said, Bob's Mountain was really cool. There was a man-made lake on top of it. So you saw, the mountains, and then you kind of went up to where his house was, and there was this little lake that had a dock that detached from the rest of it, and you could motor your way out into the middle of the lake and jump off of it, which was really nice. Waking up in the morning was probably one of my favorite parts because we had to wake up so early, and when you would leave there would be all of this fog over the mountains, so you would see every now and then a mountain peak and then just smoke. And it looked really cool because at one point I remember we had to get power tools the first day, and you just saw white and then just one mountain peak, and it was a really cool thing to see. By far, singing at night was probably my absolute favorite part and reflecting on what our day was. One thing that really stuck with me the most was how our carpenter Dennis told us that he doesn't build things to get the A-OK from his boss, he builds them as if his mom were to walk on them, which really struck me hard because I realized that not everything has to be done to benefit yourself. You're really there to benefit other people in this case, and it was really nice to hear that that's what Dennis was doing and not doing it just to make a living. Overall, I realized that in Harlan, not everyone's upset with the situation they're in. Being in a sticky situation, they're still really, really happy with what their life is and what's going on, and they're even more grateful that people like us and Co-op are able to come down and help them, which I guess really stuck with me the most.
Okay, Leah's gonna go next.
Okay. Can I yeah.
You wanna hold it?
No, it's okay. Okay, I'll just try to project.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Leah. I'm a sophomore at Shaker. This past summer was my first time going to Harlan. Going into the trip, I had no idea what to expect. My mother found out about the trip through the weekly bulletin because she used to work here every Sunday in the preschool. I was nervous because I usually don't go to St. Paul's. I belong to my local Catholic parish. I assumed that everyone would be from St. Paul's youth group and would already know each other. Honestly, I also wasn't sure how much religion would play a part in the trip. I go to church regularly, but I haven't been to Sunday school in years. I imagine we would pray a lot and work all day, every day, on roofs. After the pre-meeting, I was also convinced someone would end up being attacked by a snake. It wasn't going to be me. The day we left, I felt really uncomfortable talking to any of the kids. Just as I had guessed, a lot of them seemed to know each other. I spent the bus ride keeping mostly to myself and sleeping. Somewhere around lunch, when we got out to sit down with each other at various fast food restaurants, I started to warm up. I got to talk to a few people for the first time about who they were besides me. We all were sharing fries, and that's when I knew it was gonna be a good trip. Hours later, we rolled into Harlan. After admiring a beautiful view, we headed up to the cabins. We bonded a lot the first night over popcorn and rock poker. All the girls slept downstairs, and we all piled into bunk beds in the same room. I actually realized a lot of the girls there didn't know each other as well as I thought they had. The next day, we were divided into groups to go to 2 different work sites. My group worked on the deck and re-roofing a house. It was a lot of fun. It was great to see everyone getting gradually better at using power tools and learning new skills. I liked that while we had a lot of supervision and help available, the kids got to do a lot. A great part of this trip is swimming at the beach every day and after working and hikes that we did. I got to experience more of Harlan's culture than I expected to. We met so many amazing people at the work sites and the grocery store, and Bob, who has generously welcomed the co-op up to his mountain every year. Every night, we would sing songs, reflect on our day, and say a prayer. Once again, I really liked how the kids stepped up to lead this every time, every night. The songs are so fun, and the fact that we got to reflect on the day and share out made me appreciate this trip even more. Meeting the people who helped us every day at the worksite has changed my view of the current political climate. I can stand in the shoes of another and look at the many of the issues addressed in the 2016 election differently. Harlan was a coal mining town before the mines were shut down. This cost a lot of people jobs. A young man named Dalton, who was only 19, had dropped out of school to work in the mines, where he was getting paid good money to do hard, dangerous work. After he was let go, he was forced to find other jobs to pay a minimum wage. Another issue I learned more about is gun control. Hunting is huge in Harlan. Guns are used for recreation and protection from the wild. Sharing a new rifle with your neighbors is as common as showing off your new car in Harlan. I see conservative views in a new way now, because I know and respect people who are, not out of racistness or hate, but like need for their livelihoods. I encourage you to send your high school kids to Harlan, or even go yourself. I've made some really great friends from all over Cleveland I never would have without it. I gained a respect for hard work and labor while still having a lot of fun. I saw God in new ways, the people of Harlan, my new friends, the nature, and my understanding of what religion is beyond church every Sunday. Challenge yourself to take part in something greater than yourself, an immediate community, and have an open mind while doing it. Every single person took so much away from this trip. Please strongly consider going to Harlan. It was truly my summer's highlight. I promise you'll have fun.
Andy will be next. Andy's mom was also one of the adult leaders.
I'm going to be totally honest right now. When my mother told me that I was going to be going to Harlan, Kentucky, I was pretty rattled. I've never done anything like a mission trip before, so I was really nervous and expected that I would be uncomfortable the whole time. The couple friends that I knew that were also going on the trip would joke about how much we did not want to go, and now all I want to do is go back. Each day brought new challenges, excitement, energy, and fun. We would wake up, eat some Fruit Loops, drink Dr. Wow, jump in the van, and head to our work site. It was so cool and interesting talking to people we met at our sites since we came from completely different backgrounds than them. I love listening to my carpenter dentist sing songs and tell stories. I especially enjoyed meeting a cat that would roam around the property. We named her Linda, and I was really close to taking her home with me. What made the trip so amazing was the friendships I formed throughout the week. I didn't really know anybody the first day, but by the last day I had bonded with every single person there. I made friendships that I'm sure I will have for a really long time. This trip was definitely the highlight of my summer. It ranged from hiking, climbing on rocks, lighting off fireworks by the bonfire, swimming, beach soccer, and lacrosse, cooking, building, thinking, and so much more. I have thought about this a lot, and I know I did learn something, but I can't pin down exactly what that lesson was. I'm so grateful that St. Paul's gave me this opportunity, and I'm so pumped for next year.
And next is Anna.
So, just like Annie, when I first heard about Harlan, I had no intention of going. I didn't really think a mission trip would be fun, if I'm going to be honest. And when I heard my parents sign me up, I was pretty mad at them. I asked a couple of my other friends if they were going, and I eventually convinced them to go because I didn't want to go alone. Let's just say I was completely wrong in what I had thought it was going to be. This trip was probably the most fun part of my summer. I had gone with the intention that I was going to hate it, and it was going to be such a long week, but looking back, I wish it had been longer. I knew almost all the people going, but when the week was over, I had learned so much more about them in ways I never thought I could. I met new people, bonded with all of them, and made some lifelong friendships. A typical day ranged from building roofs to playing lacrosse on the beach. We got up early in the morning, ate breakfast, and then left in our big vans to go to our work sites. My group was in charge of building a deck and repairing a very damaged roof. I spent most of the time hammering shingles on the roof and roasting Pop-Tarts in the very hot sun. After work, we went to the beach for a few hours. We swam and ran around in the sand playing soccer and lacrosse. Then we went home to eat dinner, which varied every night depending on who was on food crew. One thing I thought was super cool was to talk to the people who lived there, because I had a totally different perspective on the world than I do. After the week was over, I felt so good knowing that we helped people with things they couldn't do themselves. After fixing the roof, it felt so good knowing that even though it was just one roof in 1 week, it helped one person more than you could ever imagine.
Hi, I'm Sophie. I'm a junior. So I kind of was contemplating what to talk about. I didn't really know if I should talk about like what we did, and like I knew everyone else was going to talk about that. But then there was also all the people we met there. And one person in particular we met was on our job site. His name was Dalton. And he kind of opened up our eyes to like what was happening. And when we first got there, we met like our group. We had like 2 projects on one job site, and so we were doing the roof and we were doing the deck. And there were 2 guys there. One was Randy and one was Dalton. And Dalton was this 19-year-old kid, and he had dropped out of high school when he was a freshman. And he went to work in the coal mines. And I couldn't really wrap my head around this. I was like, how do you drop out of high school? Like, that didn't really make sense to me. And then to go and do all this dangerous work. And he was also married. And that, like, what? Like, married at 19? Like, are you kidding me? Right. Yeah, I was like, do you have kids? Like, what's going on here? And he was a fan of the Warriors, so that immediately, like, made us all take a step back. We were like, who are you? Sadly, Dalton was the last one hired in the coal mines, and so when they started closing down because of Obama's, like, regulations on, like, clean air and stuff, he was the first one fired. So down there, when Trump said he would bring back their work and reopen their mines, nothing else he said mattered, because that was his livelihood. So it kind of opened, that was like the first thing that really opened my eyes. I was like, whoa, like, yeah, Trump is like a bad guy, and like from my like liberal Shaker Heights mindset, like I can be like, oh, no one needs to, like, why should anyone vote for Trump? Like, but then I was like, oh, like these people like have lives, and they like, Trump's gonna be like, we're gonna bring back your job, and they're gonna be like, okay, do it, like, whatever. And so an old friend of Paul's who used to work with co-op said, since your president, referring to Obama, has left the office, 6 of our mines have been reopened to me. And they like strongly believe this was Trump, but I mean, was it Trump? Maybe, but like probably not. It was probably the first, but like that was like what they believed. And so I kind of like got to step into their shoes and like understand more about like their thinking. And another thing that was shocking to me was how they viewed guns. Like Leah said, they viewed it like cars. Like they would just pass around their guns. They'd be like, oh, look at this new gun I got. Like And Dalton said one day casually, I got my first gun at 3, but I didn't kill my first deer till 5. And my mouth literally fell open. I was like, what? I've like hardly ever seen a gun like in TV shows. Like, I haven't held a gun, I haven't shot a gun. Like, I was like, are you kidding me? 3 years old and you have a gun? Like, what are you talking about? But then I kind of understood more about how people like how they view like everything that we view as bad, they view it as good. Like, so we like when politicians go up and they're like, oh, so and so is gonna take away your guns, and they're like, oh my God, I hate them now. It's because it's their livelihood, like it's what they do. And so, I just think that it opened my eyes. I think I was very like, I mean, not closed-minded, but like pretty closed-minded. Like I didn't really think about anyone else. Like I didn't think about what people like in different situations from me like experienced. And so going to Harlan helped me open up my eyes and helped me step into a different world, even though it's like 9 hours away. It's in a completely different lifestyle, and so that was really nice. And also I made a lot of good friends and met a lot of great people and almost burned down the oldest building in Kentucky. Yeah, thank you.
Some food groups did a little better than the others. Only one set off the fire alarm this year. And just a side note, nobody touched a gun. They were in people's windows. It's just, it is ubiquitous. Anybody have any questions?
When you had your evening sessions and the third question came up about when did you feel God's presence during the week, can you give us some examples of what was raised at that point?
What do you guys think?
How grateful people were for like the little they had.
Stand up to the mic.
Whoops. Yeah.
Like how grateful everyone was that we met to have such like simple things in life. Harlan's a really poor town, but yet everyone was so happy. There's such a great sense of community there. We went to the grocery store. Okay, my group is like the one that set off the fire alarm. We burned like spaghetti and garlic bread and stuff. It was a mess. Okay, whatever. We went to the grocery store with my group, and it was like 4th of July the next day or that night or something. And a woman just like, oh, who are you guys? Oh, you guys are with Co-op, because you know a lot of people there work with Co-op. And she welcomed us into our church and was like, if you ever want to go to the fireworks, like just right next to the Dairy Queen, take a right, like come join us. It was very welcome.
I also just think, I remember, I think it was Paul who was talking about like just like, it like started raining and then like the sun came out and like the things you see, like you're never going to see that in Shaker Heights or in Ohio, well you see it in Ohio, but you won't see it in Shaker Heights. Like the views we saw, like the nature, especially at Bob's Mountain.
Like I said, I think the earlier thing about Dennis saying with how, about how he builds things just to keep people happy and make sure that the people who are walking on them are safe, rather than not building it for an A-OK or getting a good pay that day. And throughout the week, though, I think my other God moment was definitely realizing that how many friendships were like put together and created just over that short period of time of spending time with each other over like a whole entire week.
Okay.
Okay, being a former music teacher and the director of the Bell Choir here at St. Paul's, I wanted to know one of the songs that you sang.
No?
I have them on my phone.
I don't have my guitar.
And I would like to
I got
sing
this.
and
Oh, you
you
can
can
like
my
my
sample.
sample. Here, let's see
What's
what
your
you got.
highlights?
No. We can sing London Soldier.
It's a,
Second, I can't correct me.
Well, they're the same song. For the kickoff for adults that are the youth leaders, last week, I brought my guitar so we could all the adults sing some songs. And Epi knew all the words from when she was in youth group. So these are like All in All, Shine Jesus Shine, One Good Soldier. We do Three Little Birds by Bob Marley. What is it? Oh, Pharaoh, which is a favorite. It's to Louie Louie, but there's a dance that goes with it, and it's Bedlam.
Hey, let's do it.
Stand up.
I'm trying to find it. Just do the Pharaoh.
Wing it.
We just do the Pharaoh part.
Can you guys do it?
Emma, where are you going?
One, two, three, four.
Pharaoh, Pharaoh. Oh, baby, let my people go. Yeah. Pharaoh, Pharaoh. Oh, baby, let my people go. Yeah.
And then there's verses. One more?
I'm intrigued by the interfaith makeup of the group, because the one young lady said she goes to Catholic church, so did you find that anything like universal about religion or anything like that? And I'm sure the people you met were of different faiths.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. But I think between the Catholic and Episcopalian faiths, there's like a lot of overlap. My Catholic church, I know that some are more conservative, but mine's pretty open-minded and liberal. So yeah, I don't know. My mom kind of knew some of the parents who went on this trip because, like I said before, we used to come to this church, and it was just like, honestly, out of like logistics, like the church I go to is at the end of my street, so it's like your neighborhood. I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of overlap. The prayers are a lot the same. I've been to a few services since the trip, and much of the layout of it's the same. I really didn't see any too big of differences that were like, I don't know.
What about the people you met?
The people we met, I don't think religion plays that much of a role in it, but it's definitely like Baptist and conservative. There's like a million churches there. I don't know.
Yeah, it's every fourth house is the church. So, we're going again next year. We're going July 1st through the 7th. You have to be 14 years old, up to a graduated senior. We're going to have room for 24 kids this year. We only could take 20 last year. And if there's plenty of time, but we did fill up and have a waiting list last year. They already want to sign up. Thank you.
It goes without saying that it takes a parish to raise and build and rehab and form lives. And thank you for all contributing to that. This is a wonderful program. It's going to grow even bigger and better in the future, thanks to people like all of these young people. See you next week.